Kiev plans to use motivated volunteers during a counterattack, which is scheduled to begin in the coming weeks. The Ukrainian army has prepared 8 units with a total of 40,000 men for an offensive on Russian-occupied territories. This is reported by Reuters, citing the military. According to the agency, the units consist of motivated volunteers, called up in the framework of an aggressive campaign, to recruit fighters in social networks and on billboards. Ukraine began a recruitment campaign for the assault brigades in early February. Ukrainian Interior Minister Ihor Klimenko told Reuters that the recruits included former military and police officers as well as people with no combat experience, including women. According to him, former military personnel can be trained in 2 months, while people without experience can be trained in 4 months. Klimenko also argues that Ukraine still has mobilization potential. The units in which recruits are being recruited are Azov, Steel Border, Uragan, Spartan, Chervona Kalina, Rubesh, Fury, and Karadag. They are under the control of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine. Steel Border is commanded by Valery Podil, who was the head of the Ukrainian border guard forces that participated in the defense of Mariupol last spring. Podiluk was taken prisoner after Russia took the Azovstal plant, and he was released in a prisoner exchange last September. Podil notes that he does not know when or where Ukraine's counteroffensive will begin. Reuters writes that Kiev plans to use recruited volunteers during the counteroffensive, which should begin in the coming weeks or months. A failed attempt to retake territory seized by Russia could influence the position of Ukraine's key Western partners and force them to push Kiev to negotiate with Moscow, the agency notes. Since late last year, the Ukrainian leadership has been talking about preparing a counteroffensive in the spring. Kiev has argued that modern weaponry is needed for a successful attack. In recent months, Western countries have announced the transfer of Western tanks and modern BMPs to Ukraine, as well as the first deliveries of fighter jets, Soviet MiG-29s, since the start of the war. In March, the media reported that equipment had begun arriving in Ukraine. The Ukrainian authorities have repeatedly said that the ultimate goal of the counteroffensive should be the return of all occupied territories, including Crimea and Donbass. Kiev may launch the offensive from the Zaporizhzhia region so that Russia will no longer be able to use the land corridor to Crimea, which, among other things, was mentioned by the head of the AFU, Valery Zaluzhny, in December of last year.